Hello everybody. So obviously you clicked on this video because you want to get better at ship combat or naval combat, whatever you want to call it. Now today I'll be going over a few basic tips and concepts that are in naval combat that I think are very important for you to get down. And that includes sail management, some cannoning tips, roles in each of the boats, callouts, and knowing when and how to use your specials correctly. So jumping right into this, I want to start with sail management. Sail management is arguably the most important aspect of ship combat. It will determine the speed at which your boat moves, which will then decide your turning radius. So obviously moving slower, you'll have a tighter turning radius, which is important because if you either anchor ball your enemy, fully demast them, or your boarder gets on and they anchor themselves, you will need to be able to capitalize on that. So you need that turning radius to start your death spiral so that you can then dish out a lot of hurt on your enemies. Another thing to keep in mind with your sail management is keeping a close eye on the person you are fighting, because if they have all their sails down, you can't be over here with only one sail down, because they'll get ahead of you, which then they'll be able to quickly raise their sails, turn, and now they're in front of you and you are completely nosed. Which nosing I will get into when I get to the boat positioning section. Something else to remember is alongside moving slower with less sails down, it is, in my opinion at least, a lot easier to hit cannon shots because the waves are not as aggressive. When you're moving quicker, the waves will bounce you around a lot more. Obviously, the other boat is moving faster as well because people try to maintain the same speed so that they're not lagging behind or not getting too far ahead. So moving faster, cannons are harder to hit, but sometimes you can't help that because your opponents will have all the sails down and you can't just start raising sails because they'll get in front of you, and obviously, like I just said, that's not good news. Okay, I would like to start with this clip here. This is from my most recent naval fighting video I posted against Kraken Heads and Ricky Burby and Kingdom of Machine. Great fight, by the way. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend watching it. It was a crazy fight, super skilled players. But anyways, as you can see, we open up this fight by only lowering our back sail, because we know that they are close to us and we'll be engaging right away. And as soon as we gain vision of this boat, we can see that they also only have back sail down. So we're just going to be matching that, and then we're going to go ahead and trade cannon pressure.
He's trying to god chains from the island, but he's not.
I'll be going back to this clip when I get to the callouts, because there's a lot of things happening in this certain scenario that will help a lot with explanations later. So you'll probably see this a lot. I'm sorry if it gets old, but a lot of things happen here that's important for this video. So it will be hard to see here since in this clip I am shooting over and boarding, but since we had fully demasted these guys and they are in the middle of raising their back sail and they haven't lowered their front sail yet, our team would have been raising their back sail a little bit. As you just saw there, it was halfway up instead of all the way down. That is so that they can slow down and get a tighter turn to keep their cannon angle to then keep cannon pressure.
Oh no.
We're in a bad spot. We're about to peace ball him.
Yeah, do it.
And right here is a prime example on why good sail management is very important. We are in front of them, but we didn't completely capitalize soon enough. We have them fully demasted, as you can see right now. They're raising their sails, but we had all of our sails down at first, so Glock and I had to quickly double up on front sail so that we could slow down as fast as possible, and in between cuts we had raised back sail as well so we could turn around and get some more cannon pressure. And right here is a very interesting and unique situation that I very rarely get into.
Got back.
As you can see right here, they just full pulled their sails.
Full front.
So we immediately start raising our sail to match that and then keep cannon angle, obviously. We don't want to just completely zoom away. On top of that, I had just demasted their front. So they lost their front sail, but they had raised all their sails anyways. And we were just raising sail there so we could turn and keep our cannon angle. But we soon realized that it was more of a trap and it would hurt us more than help us because we'd be pinched in between the island and their broadside. So we quickly lowered back sail again and harpooned away so that we didn't get into a bad pinch. So that briefly sums up the importance of sail management. It gives you a few examples and you can see what I mean when I'm talking. Now this was all obviously filmed on a brigantine versus another brigantine, and so I will go over sloop and galleon, just what you need to focus on with sails on those boats. So I'll go over that now. Sloop, you obviously only have one sail, so just raise it to half whenever you are engaging, especially close range, assuming they aren't full sailing in wind away from you or whatever it may be. Galleon, you want to raise mid as soon as possible, and then if you need to, raise front, and then your helm will focus on back sail, and then they'll call out whether you need to lower sails or not. And then if you're like a sloop versus a brig, you're pretty much always going to want to keep sail all the way down until you fully demast them or anchor them, whatever it may be. Then you raise to half and get your circle going around them, also known as your death spiral. And if you are a sloop versus like a galleon, you're almost always full sail. And if you are like a brig versus a galleon, doesn't really change too much. Same thing, just raise front until you need to lower when your helm calls out. And then if it's galley v galley, what I mentioned before, raise mid, raise front, let your helm do the callouts. And then if it's galley versus sloop, you could honestly be a dick and just completely raise sail and let them try to turret around you as you just spin. That always works. You can do that with anyone really on a galleon. Just turret, raise all your sails, and just spin with them so that they never get ahead of you and you'll never lose your cannon angle. That's a viable tactic that is very annoying to go up against. A lot of people will get mad at you as well if they know what you're actually doing. But you know, it works. Now I want to go back to the start of this,
Oh, they're coming in hot. We need shots like right now.
I can go over some callouts. Now
I don't even have
immediately
time to
you'll
fucking,
hear
like,
Nerf.
rotate
He's
us
saying
out.
that the
I'll rotate
the boat is getting close to us,
One's coming over
and
the island.
that people are shooting over to the
So
island.
coming over the
Now that is
island?
good information to know
drop back sail,
because
we'll get
that
I'm
then
dropping
tells
it
us that they're missing players on their boat, obviously,
One's trying to get on the boat.
which means that their boat is then
Seal.
handicapped and weaker.
Hit him.
And then here,
Send long.
we like to call out that you had hit your shot
Hitting.
so that you know that they're low in health. And you just heard Guac there say that he's hitting, meaning he just like hit his cannon shot.
He's trying to god change
Which is
from
very
the island,
important
but
call
he's not
out.
gonna get it.
Because you can then match
Wait,
his
what the fuck?
cannon arc so that you can then
This
hit
guy's
your shots
pistol
if you're
fucking
missing.
sniper in the water. I thought I saw chains coming from the island. Yeah, there's
You
still
did.
can't. There's like what the fuck? There's more than 3 guys.
I'm gonna board them.
Get
Now
back, get
there,
back.
Nerf got a little bit confused. We had
Turning
killed
us in.
one. I think he
Whaling
might have
Barney?
thought we killed 2
Whaling barnacle
or
sails,
whatever it might
100.
have been.
He's not going off.
Yeah.
Never mind. Killed one
So
though.
we obviously thought there was many people off the boat and many people still on the boat because we are receiving cannon fire.
Could be front snap.
Combat
Ah,
whaling
just
barnacle.
Yup.
Yeah, I just
Yep.
got sword dashed and then team sniped. I was trying to get to their anchor, but no.
Oh, yeah. we
Ricky
need to drop
Burby.
front and back.
Do
It's
not
Ricky
play
Burby?
with
The only
It's
reason
Ricky
he's calling
Burby.
that is
Barnacle
because
loaders.
we know that
No.
name
We're in a bad spot
and
right
we
now.
then
I know,
know
I'm
that it's
turning,
going to be
I'm
a good fight
It's
because
Ricky?
we know who it is and we
Dude,
know that they're
Ricky's
good
fucking
players.
chill as fuck. This is gonna be a really good fight though. They're
Step back.
rotating into us.
About to peace ball him.
Yeah, do it.
You can hear there, Guac is announcing that he's about to peace ball them, meaning he's going to use a
Full
curse
front,
ball.
Double front, double front.
That is also very important to know, because we then know that they will not be able to fire back for
Yeah,
a few
I'm
seconds,
turning.
and it
Ricky
gives
knows
us a
me,
little
he's
bit
gonna
of
be pissed.
little bit of
Ricky
flexibility
is
to
Sigma
hop off
male,
cannons,
grindset as fuck.
manage our
We're gonna
sales.
out Sigma them, bro.
We are gonna out Sigma them, but he's Sigma. I respect it.
Those are Sigma sales if ever I saw them.
That's true.
Oh yeah.
Let's double front.
And then you'll be.
Double front.
And Guac is there saying let's double front, meaning he's saying, Ponky, get the fuck off cannons and help me get front up as fast as possible. So in
Who's he playing
conclusion,
with?
when it comes to
I don't know.
callouts,
I just saw
we
him in the
basically want to
area.
call out everything that you're doing when it
Okay,
comes
okay.
to
Could be Kingdom.
boarding,
I think
killing
Kingdom
somebody,
Machine, really?
just
King-
hitting
oh my
somebody,
God.
hitting
He's
your
fucking
cannon
a
shots,
Chad,
raising
too. He's a
sails,
controller for fucking Lord.
whatever you are going to be shooting out of your
We
cannon.
got this,
Shoot
though.
this
We're
So if
gonna
you'll
have
be
Sigma
sending out
fucking
chains,
nail the shit out
you
of these
usually
guys,
want to
dude.
call out that you're going to be
Very
doing
good.
that depending on
This rock.
your situation.
Yeah.
So if it's like
That'd
a
be fine,
very
bro.
intense broad to broad,
Fuck off,
it's a
rock.
very even trade, you want
All
to call
day,
that you're sending out
left,
chain shots
double
because
front.
you'll be
Yeah,
then
double front.
taking off that extra cannon of
There you go.
pressure on the
Yeah.
cannon line or wherever you may be shooting. Blunder bombs are very common and important to be calling out because you only really need one person
Fire.
shooting blunder bombs. So if you call it that you're going to be doing that, then your teammate doesn't have to worry about also shooting out blunder bombs.
Watch out.
Let me know
Curse
if you're
balls,
missing
you
shots
guys
we
want
can
to say
pull
that
out
you're
of this.
shooting it, and you have to announce which curse ball that will be so that everyone on your crew
Okay.
understands what they will
Got
be
your
affected
Pull out,
by
pull out, pull out.
and how they will be
Pull in
affected.
below.
That might though.
We need beds
Now
here,
I will
we
be
need-
going over cannon tips. Now I'll
I
be
got-
honest,
they
when it
double
comes to
shot this here.
cannoning,
we
a
need
lot of it
catching
is
mass, we can.
just
I'm catching
practice
back, I'm catching
and
back. They're sending the
feel,
border.
I'll deal with
and
it.
you
Yeah,
will
get
get
a
better
rep,
at
get a
it
rep, get a
just
rep,
the
get a
more
rep.
you do it.
Repping back.
But there
Okay, drop and get
there's
out.
a few things I can tell you as a tip,
Watch on
and
that
one
as
of them
well.
is listening to your teammates'
have a lot of
callouts.
holes
So
right
if
now,
one of them is
fellas.
hitting,
Yeah,
they'll
yeah,
say
yeah, I
hitting
would
like
get on
Guac did earlier, and
the
you
guy
can
I'm
then
watching
match
me.
that cannon arc, and then you'll be able to start hitting as well. So you can watch the smoke off the cannons and adjust your cannoning to.
Just watch board.
Another thing for
Mixed
you to
double board,
keep in
double board.
mind when
I don't
you
think you're
are shooting your cannons and when you are actually hitting the
One's
boat
off right.
is,
Tap them once.
especially against galleons, understanding where you are hitting, because galleon obviously has two decks. It has top deck and lower deck.
Should be good to get back into this.
So top deck, you won't
Yep.
be causing
Make sure we're all
water
rep
to go
downstairs.
into
Yeah,
the
we're good.
boat immediately
Oh my
until
God, the
the
spikes,
water
bro.
rises from bottom deck to that level. Then the water will start flowing in. So when you are opening up against a galleon, if you are able to hit lowers, that's
We're gonna
another
stop
call
shooting
out.
close range.
I'm hitting.
You say,
Hit one.
I'm hitting lowers. So then people know that you are
Oh,
causing
man,
them
this
to
is
actually
some
gain
fucking
water.
Sweaty
Yeah, we have
bullshit.
50.
We gotta
Maybe
take
turn
these,
in.
they're gonna-
So in order to hit lowers more often,
Hit home.
I recommend paying attention to where your cannonballs are
Go
actually
for
hitting.
water, Ponky, go for
If
it.
you can see, sometimes waves get in the way. I
No,
understand
I'm
that.
not gonna get it.
Like in this clip here, the waves, I can't see where my cannonballs are hitting,
Quicker than us somehow.
We're going
or if they're
straight
even
at
hitting.
fucking-
They're moving fucking fast. What the hell?
They
Yeah,
got
they're still
crossed.
set. I have to turn out.
But yeah,
fucking-
focusing lower
right
deck
here.
on galleons is
We're not gonna
important.
do
Hit
shit.
there.
Yeah, I just broke that.
And then you can also,
You guys
once
can
you've
double board
hit
here
a
and I'll
bunch
just
of
pull out.
lowers, you can then focus on hitting a bunch of uppers.
We're gonna hit it.
Excuse me. While that being said, if you're able to focus at least one or two
Hit down,
people
hit
on your
down.
crew to focus lower decks, assuming on
really
what boat you're on.
casual
If you're on a brig, it'll be only one person focusing lowers while you get the other one to focus cannon line
Fucking
so that you get
goddamn-
hit markers and knock everybody
Oh,
off
yeah,
cannons.
away from me. Fucking dog.
If you're on a sloop, you have to do everything yourself.
Dude,
Kinda
I'm in the
tough,
fucking
but
fleet and there's a galleon on me. When you guys
That's a
get
sloop
back.
life for you. And on galleon, if you have all four
Wanna
people,
rotate back to reefers?
you can focus two lowers
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and two uppers. So two people will be hitting lowers, two people be hitting uppers, and that will fuck them up. If you only have three, just put two bottom, one upper,
Only top Gs are Canadian.
or you can decide with your team however you want to do it. If you want to do two uppers, one lower, that works too. Another super important tip I have when it comes to cannoning is another call out, but it's for your helm. Your helm will be watching you guys' cannonballs, and they will tell you whether you are high, or shooting over them, or you're low, so you're shooting under them. So then you are able to then adjust your shots, whether it's up or down. I hadn't had my helm be doing that for a while. Once they did start doing that, like I didn't even think about it, it just started happening. But once they did start doing those callouts saying you're shooting too high, you're shooting too low, it is very, very helpful because you can't exactly see from the cannon where your cannons are going all the time, but your helm can. So they'll be able to tell you up or down, and it is extremely important. I can't stress that enough. Get your helm to do those callouts for you. Now I will be going over the roles on the boat. Now I'll be referencing this to the galleon because there's 4 players on that boat, meaning more roles. So there is obviously the helm, and then there is main cannon, flex, and bilge. So helm will obviously be focusing on steering the boat and making sure you guys always have your cannon angles and basically being your second pair of eyes. Main cannon, their main role is to stay on cannons as long as possible and always be giving cannon pressure. Flex, they are the ones that do a little bit of everything. They will be the ones that will raise the sails when it's called. They'll be the ones that go and board the other boat. They will be the ones that go and help the bilge when they are bucketing. If they need the help, they'll call them down, they'll go down and give them a few buckets. Flex is the jack of all trades, basically. Now bilge, they're the guys that put the bucket in their hand and get the boat dry. If you have holes down below, they are the ones that immediately go down, they check on it, they repair the holes, they bucket the boat. If they need help, they will call the flex down. They are very important because if you don't have them, you will sink. Now on a brig, you basically just merge the bilge and the helm together. With my crew at least. Usually we will just get the helm to go down and they will bilge, unless we need one of the cannons to, because the helm needs to stay on helm, depending on what scenario we are in. Either the helm will merge to be helm and bilge, or the flex will. Now a sloop, the helm does a lot. The helm will be steering the boat, managing sails, and bilging, while the cannoneer stays as main cannon basically, but they will also be the ones that board. Now, to wrap things up, there's one more thing for me to cover, and that is knowing when and how to use your specials, which are your curse cannonballs, your fire bombs, your blunder bombs, and your chain shots. Now, I'll start with chain shots. These are a little bit complicated because you really need to be in a position to capitalize if you get their mass down. So if you know they're hurting, you put a lot of cannon pressure on them, you put a lot of holes in them, and you're able, and you are within range to chop their mass and be able to capitalize on that, that is a good time to do so. Blunder bombs. Blunder bombs are very different to fire bombs. Please, if you use fire bombs as a substitute, stop. They have completely different roles. Blunder bombs deal a lot of knockback, and on top of that, it will move the boat. So if you shoot a blunder bomb at the front of the enemy boat, it's really hard to say what it'll do because it's kind of RNG, but it will either push the boat away from you or it will pull the boat into you. So either way, there's a good chance they could lose their cannon angle. But that depends on where you shoot it, because you could aim it right at their cannon line, knocking most if not all of the players off of their cannon. So a good time to use this is if you are receiving too much cannon pressure Or if you know they're hurting a lot and a lot of them are bilging, repairing, whatever, and you set a bunch of blunder bombs to knock them around, which could cause them to backsplash, meaning that they miss their bucket and they throw it back onto the boat. Or you knock them off repairs, or you could even kill them. Blunder bombs are game changing, and they could win or lose you fights. Curse balls really depends on what curse you have. If it's a green, that means that it will affect the pirate, and if it's purple, it will affect the boat. Greens are good for when they are hard bilging, because it will affect their pirate and they won't be able to bilge for much longer. It will make them backsplash, puke in their bucket. They won't be able to walk, so they can't move as fast. They will just completely stop and fall asleep or start dancing, whatever it may be. Purple, anchor balls, piece balls, rigging balls, ballast balls, barrel balls, helm balls, whatever it may be. Good time to use when you are gaining too much pressure, because it will make them scramble. It'll stop them from using cannons. They won't be able to turn anymore. Or if they are taking a lot of cannon pressure. Now ballast balls, I'm going to get a little bit sidetracked here. Ballast balls are only really useful on galleons because it sinks them down to the second deck. So then if you have holes on the upper deck, it'll start filling in with water. That is super important to think about. If you have hit a lot of upper decks and you start to hit a little bit of lowers, their bilge is going to go down, they're bucketing, then bang, all of a sudden they're gaining water from all their holes. Ballast balls are really important to keep for a very tight window when they have taken a lot of cannon pressure. Okay, now fire bombs. This is going to be really short. I only really recommend to use it on galleons because it's only really effective on galleons. The boat's so big, the fire can spread very easily, and it will spread very quickly. It gets in your way, deals damage, makes it hard to see, blah blah blah. It only really works on galleons though. So that's when you use it. I like to use fire bombs when I open up on a galleon. I just shoot my fire bombs, and then I shoot my cannonballs. Okay, one last thing about cursed cannonballs. It's a really tough one to say when you should use it, because you just need to keep in mind that the green cursed cannonballs will affect the pirate, and the purple ones will affect the boat. So whenever you think will be a good time to use whichever one, which in my examples for the green, I said when they're bilging because it'll make it a lot harder. For purple, it's when they've taken a lot of cannon pressure, or if we're taking too much cannon pressure, because it affects the boat and it'll make them get off cannons, or it will make them bilge even harder. Okay everybody, that's it from me. If you had any questions, put it down in the comments. I will gladly answer as many as I can. If you have anything to add on to this, put it down in the comments. I'll either pin it or like it, whatever it is. Just if you have anything to add on, put it down in the comments for other people to go read on. Now hopefully if you're watching this, you gain some value out of it, or you learn something new, or this is hopefully going to help you with your future fights. And if you did learn something new, keep practicing, you'll get better, and good luck to you in your future sales and endeavors.